Hello my dear friends, and welcome to my channel. Don't forget to make yourself a cup of tea with snacks if you want, because today we have very interesting stories, and one of them is a story about a woman who tried to steal OP's service dog cause her kid wanted it so bad. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope you'll enjoy it. I always thought these crazy people who don't mind their own business must be a rare breed, and that I would never encounter one of them, but somehow I did. So a little bit of background before I start. I was born in Pakistan, but came to Canada when I was 3. But by that time, I could already speak in Urdu, Punjabi and Hindi. The languages are fairly similar in many regards, and then I came to Canada, and English was my 4th language. As I grew up, I also learned Arabic, French and Japanese to varying competencies, but all within the realm of conversational. Having grown up in Canada, I have no accent when I speak in English, so you wouldn't be able to tell me apart from a Caucasian person if you spoke with me over the phone. But also having learned so many languages, I'm able to pronounce a lot of sounds fairly accurately, so I sound authentic in all languages that I speak into all but native speakers. Most of the languages that I know sound different enough from each other that someone that doesn't know them can still tell that the language is different. I've traveled back home to Pakistan a few times, and I would always encounter those beggars who come with elaborate stories. Like, my wife is sick and she needs surgery, and I managed to get money for that, but I need money for the flight to reach her, etc. I came up with a fun counter to that, which was that I would act like I didn't understand them at all, and would start speaking in a different language that they wouldn't know. Japanese was my go-to language while in Pakistan. The reaction those people would have was quite hilarious. As per apparently new rules, instead of acronyms, I'll use fake names. I'll keep them all 5-letter names, so the columns line up decently enough. So anyway, on to my story now. The cast: Karen, the star of the show. Jimmy, Karen's husband, and a decent human being. Zarif, me. Wifey, my wife. Singh, restaurant manager. So my wife and I were at an Indian restaurant in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, enjoying our dinner and having a conversation. We speak in a mix of Urdu and English, just mixing with whatever feels easy. To someone listening in, they would be able to understand enough to figure out what we are talking about in most cases. We were sitting in a booth table, so it was only open from one side. Karen and her family, Jimmy and her 2 daughters that looked like they were in their early teens, were sitting at an open table with an empty table between us. My wife is Pakistani like me, and what some Pakistanis like to do is eat rice with their hands. I prefer a spoon myself, but at this time my wife was eating with her hands. Apparently, this Karen got offended at seeing my wife eat with her hands. When she came over, I started speaking in different languages, acting like I didn't understand what she was saying in English. I'll translate what I said and put in parentheses which language I said it in. Here's how it went. Karen walks over to our table with a sour expression on her face. Jimmy calls to her, telling her to sit back down and leave us alone, but she ignored him. She addresses my wife directly. What's wrong with you? Can't you eat your food in a civilized manner like the rest of us? Huh? What do you want? Can't you see we're eating? Karen looks at me with surprise. What did you just say? Don't talk to her in English, just do what I'm doing. You're just a crazy woman, go sit back down. Why aren't you speaking in English? My wife starts smiling, and I try hard to keep a straight face. We are just enjoying our meal, why don't you go and sit down? I just heard you speaking in English, I know you can talk in English. Yeah, I can, but I choose to not do so. I think she's getting upset. I know, that's what makes this so much fun. Stop it. Talk in English like I heard you before. So you were listening in on our conversation. Don't you have any manners? Wait, that's a mother language now. What the hell is this? Leave them alone, Karen, they don't speak English. I know they do. They're just pretending not to. It doesn't matter, just sit down. I start waving toward her table. That's right, go back to your table, you loud cow. Karen, they aren't doing anything wrong. Leave them alone. She's eating with her hands. I can't let the girls learn her uncivilized ways. Start licking your fingers. My wife starts licking the rice on her right hand off the top parts of her fingers, and that makes Karen rage even more. Oh my god. Look at how gross she is being. Stop looking at her, if you don't like it then. Hey, you dumb witch, do you behave this way everywhere you go? He changed languages again. I know he did. His accent changed. Yep, and I can keep changing. Speak in English. You must have heard them wrong. They don't know English. Leave them alone. Then why are they living here? They don't deserve to live here if they don't know English. I was having a hard time keeping a straight face, so I disguised it by raising my voice and appearing angry. I gestured towards her and then pointed at her table. Are you so dumb you can't even listen to your husband? Go sit down and stop embarrassing yourself. You don't deserve to be here. Get out. At this point, the restaurant's manager Singh shows up to see what all the commotion was about. He's an Indian guy with a pretty heavy accent when he spoke in English, so I knew he'd speak either Hindi or Punjabi. Excuse me, can you please keep your voice down? What is going on here? This woman is eating with her hands, and it's disgusting. She's corrupting my children with her barbaric ways. Ma'am, there are no rules that forbid her from eating with her hands. Please leave them alone, or I'll have to ask you to leave. Now Jimmy gets up and comes over to where Karen is. Sit down, Karen, you've embarrassed yourself enough. This is why I can't take you anywhere. Ignore this dumb cow, her brain is smaller than a laddu, an Indian sweet. The manager starts laughing at my comment and Karen gets even redder in the face since she thinks we're making fun of her. All of you should go back to your country. Jimmy just takes her arm and leads her back to their table and sits her down, telling her to shut up. Her daughters look like they want to sink into the floor from embarrassment. I ramble a few more sentences in varying languages as a kind of venting before my wife tells me to just leave it alone. We finish our dinner about 10 minutes later, with Karen glaring at us the whole time. I go pay the bill and as we are walking out of the restaurant, we pass near Karen's table. I call out to Jimmy in perfect English, with no accent while smiling, and I give him a wave. Hey buddy, I hope you enjoy your dinner. Have a good night. Karen's eyes bulge as she screams. I knew it. See. They know English. She tried to stand up suddenly, but instead ended up falling over backwards in her seat. My wife and I left the restaurant laughing before she could do anything else. That's why I wished I was fluent in another language. For some reason, it makes people angry when you don't speak to them in English when they're mad. EM. Entitled Mum, Kid. Her kid, Sis. My little sister, me. Me, obviously. Some context. I have a disability that causes me to have severe balance issues, along with muscle weakness and falls, and while I can still walk it's unsafe for me to do so I use a wheelchair. One day, I needed to go to the supermarket and decided to take my little sister, 8, along with me. I don't see her often as I live out of home, so we made a day out of it, going to the biggest shopping center on our side of town and had a great time. After having lunch in the food court, she wanted to have a play in the playground they have, so with her sitting on my lap I pushed us over, and she went in and had a blast. After about 15 minutes she fell over, and since my chair can't fit into the playground, I removed my walking stick from its holder on the side and walked in to make sure she was alright. In enters the entitled parent. After getting my sis to stop crying by joking I'd have to eat her leg now that she's landed on it, when I joke like that, she giggles like mad. I turn to wobble back to my chair, only to see it's been moved. It was around 3 meters away from where I left it, right by the entrance, where parents had left trolleys, prams, etc., and a child was sitting in my seat while her mum spun the chair around. I made my way over and asked for my chair back, when EM started on me. Hello, I need my wheelchair back, and you shouldn't have taken it without asking. But you can walk. I was so taken aback by that. Yes, I could walk, but I was obviously struggling to even stand. Excuse me. You can walk, you don't need it. You just want it. I was shocked. As she was saying this, she was raising her voice, and people were starting to look. I was firm and told her that well yes I can walk, I can't do so for very long and need my chair. Well what's wrong with you then? None of your business. You say you need the chair, but you won't even tell me what's wrong with you. She said it as if I was the crazy one. She reluctantly got her kid off my chair, so I put my stick away and sat back down. My muscles in my legs were in agony from having to stand for so long, so I pushed myself back to where my sis and I were set up to try to forget what just happened and rest. As I was going, she was loudly complaining about me to the people around her, claiming I'm lying about needing my chair because I can walk, and that I'm just a dull bludger. I got my sis from the playground and left the food court as fast as I could. My sis was upset from the confrontation too, so we went and saw a movie to calm us down. I think it was The Secret Life of Pets we saw, she loved it. I've had people both confront me about walking and demand to know what's wrong with me before, but I've never had a complete stranger take my chair. Please treat people's wheelchairs or walking sticks or walkers as an extension of their body and not something to touch without permission. It really is sickening that some people play disability police. Just because some wheelchair users can stand up and walk a bit doesn't mean they don't need the chair. I have pretty bad PTSD, and I also have a tic disorder along with anxiety, so me plus people don't work out. My dog is completely trained and is meant for panic attacks, may I add. So I'm walking through the mall with my large lab mix named Tiger. He had his best on, which clearly states he is a service dog. He was walking in our normal position, him on my right slightly behind, so he can watch me. He doesn't mind kids, so if I'm having a good day, I will have him sit and let little kids play with him. I go to that mall quite a lot, so I see the same kids often, and I've honestly bonded with a few of the families. Enter the entitled mother. I don't remember ever talking to her, so when she walked right up to me, I was quite confused. I wasn't having a very good day, so while I was standing doing I don't know what, Tiger was laying between my legs or doing slow circles, because that makes me feel safe. Excuse me. May my son pet your dog, she says in the Karen voice, you know what I mean. I'm sorry, but he's a service dog and is on duty, so he can't be pet right now or something like that. I said this in my sweet dealing with children voice because I didn't want to seem like arrogant or anything. I went back to doing whatever I was doing. Tiger puts his paws on my thigh when something's wrong, and I immediately look down. The small child, probably like 4 or 6, was petting him. Excuse, can you tell your son to not touch my dog? I again used a polite voice. Why, I've seen you let other children pet your dog, she snapped at me. I could feel the panic attack building up. I started shaking slightly but was able to calm myself pretty fast. Mommy, can I have the doggy? My head snapped toward the child who was tugging at the leash and vest. Of course, honey. How much for the dog? He's not for sale. As I said, he's a service dog and is trained specifically by me for me. He was only partially trained when we adopted me, and I finished his training. So my son needs a service dog. He's clearly blind and autistic. In my brain, hold up, that doesn't add up, ma'am. If he did need one, you would have to have a dog trained specially for him, because my dog is trained for PTSD. She huffed, grabbed her son and walked off. I thought that was the end of it and walked to the food court. I sat with my pretzel and went through some schoolwork, I think. After a couple of minutes, I heard the same annoying Karen voice. Okay, son's name, so distract that lady. I was confused, but for some reason went back to what I was doing. Excuse me, miss. Yes. What kind of doggy do you have? Well, he's a lab. I didn't know what to say, because what should I say, he's like 6. Out of nowhere, I hear Tiger yelp and immediately look to where he was sat. And there was Karen holding his lead with one hand and his vest with the other. He was now about 3 feet away from me, so he was clearly uncomfortable. If me my dog, I was definitely way too calm for the situation I was in. He's my dog. Someone call the police, this crazy lady is trying to take my service dog. I was shaking and breathing heavy because one of my major triggers is people yelling. I was seriously pissed. Not only did she steal my dog from me, but then she called me crazy. If you have any mental illness, you probably understand how dehumanizing being called crazy feels. Ma'am, give me my dog. Do you even know his name? I'm still shaking and somehow managed to keep a stable and firm voice. This is my dog Ginger. Tiger didn't even move when he heard that he was still standing there being manhandled by that nut job. I whistled because that's what I usually use to call him. Tiger come, he pulls hard on her to get to me and dragged her to the ground. She looked like she was about to explode. He sat between my legs again, and I grabbed his lead. See my dog, she pulls herself up and dragged my dog back to her again, smacking my arm in the process. She hit right where one of my worst scars are, and at that point I lost all composure. Give me my freaking dog. I didn't care about being kind anymore. She didn't budge. It's my freaking dog. I'm calling the police. Enter Tyler and Sarah, a sweet younger couple who me and my family know quite well. My name, who is that woman holding Tiger, a psycho witch that stole my dog? I'm shaking hard and was on the verge of tears because you know PTSD. Sarah walked over and worked on trying to calm me down, while Tyler was dealing with Thunder Witch. Give her the dog back before I have to do something I will regret. Fun fact, Tyler's in the army. Don't touch me. I'll call my husband, he's a lieutenant. We're at because I'm first lieutenant, last name, at army base near here. She completely stopped talking, handed over the dog, grabbed her poor son, and booked it out of here. Sadly there is no happy ending really, but if anything changes I'll update y'all. By the way, I took Tyler and Sarah out for ice cream after that incident. I no longer leave Tiger's lead laying around if I'm not holding it. I wish people wouldn't do things like this. They see it's a service dog that's trained to save your life if needed. If you don't feel comfortable with them petting your dog, they should leave it at that. I hope this doesn't happen often. Well guys, that's it for today. If you end up enjoying this video please consider subscribing, and if you missed the last episode on the channel I'm gonna link it right here. The story is about a woman who demanded OP give her child a laser to play and then threatened him. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video.